up with a proposed revision. I think we're all pretty much in agreement. The current bylaw is inadequate in many respects, and it doesn't address the issues of Mr. Yule as far as pedestrian safety. And it also puts a pretty heavy burden on all or non-residential landowners. There are certainly enforcement issues, obviously, as a result. So I would certainly encourage whatever progress can be made by some sort of clarification. We understand the time constraints, it may not be perfect, but quite frankly, I think it's gonna be much better than what we have. We certainly appreciate the willingness of George to discuss this with the chamber. And I think we've, been fairly productive, but certainly, Ms. Messeri's suggestion of delineating which streets and which sides of streets where there are runs of sidewalks. Many of you probably know from traveling around town, there are very much non-contiguous segments of sidewalk. So it's not as easy as walking from one side of town to the other. For instance, on one side of the street in front of the Horseshoe Grill, the only sidewalk in that area is the Horseshoe Grill. Which if Pat Lee did not clear that would subject him to a fine, but if he does clear it, you can't go anywhere anyway. Which is the bit of the catch-22 that we find ourselves in. The only option at that point is to cross a state highway, which is not something obviously that anybody would wish to encourage. And certainly, we take note of the liability issue at hand because of the SJC ruling. So, and that was it.
Thank you. Any other comments at this point? Ms. Carnevale?
Because we don't have an inventory of the sidewalks on Main Street particularly, we have a consultant doing that for the property ownership and the sidewalks where they are, where they're not, where they should be, what the priority should be, so, obviously what happens before next Monday.
It will not.
Document in progress.
It will not, is that what I heard?
Not to the detail that you're looking for.
Okay.
And there are spots in town that don't have sidewalks that probably should be plowed, because people walk on them, so.
Well, I feel more comfortable with a comprehensive study before we make a change.
This is just Main Street profile.
So I guess then the next thing will be related to what level, and that's not related to a change in the bylaw, but related to the existing bylaw, to what level of enforcement or not we want to pursue this coming year while we wait for changes. Mr. Yule.
Yes, with regard to enforcement or not, I'll repeat what I said last year. We have a bylaw. I was present at the town meeting when it was presented. It was presented to address for the handicap and for specifically businesses. It was not designed for residential, I think you know that. But as far as enforcement is concerned, many times we have to go incrementally. It's not a perfect world. We're never gonna have, at least I doubt in my lifetime, that we're gonna have complete sidewalks along 28. So you're always gonna have that issue where there is no sidewalk. So where we have sidewalks in the business district, in accordance with the bylaw, we should, for this year, go forward and enforce that so that whatever safety we can bring forward, we can bring forward. Otherwise, if we don't, then it'll go back to snow being on the sidewalks throughout 28, and everybody be walking in the roadway anyway. So at least, and if I remember the numbers I'm gonna say, there's about 75% at least sidewalk coverage on 28, on one side or the other. And so I think that we need to emphasize that we have a bylaw. It's not a hard one to enforce. It's very simple, reasonable removal of the snow.
Mr. Delaney?
Mr. Yule, safety is obviously a concern. I think there needs to be a common sense approach, given the current written version of our statute. The issue that Mr. Mercurio just raised in terms of the Horseshoe Grill having the only piece of sidewalk on that stretch of Route 28. Are you proposing that if Pat Lee doesn't get out there and have someone remove that snow, then we should be aggressive in cite and fine Mr. Lee But the property owner next to him who doesn't have any sidewalk, doesn't have to remove any snow? Gets a free ride?
No, it's not a question of that.
Apparently he has a sidewalk that goes nowhere.
Let's do this, if there's no sidewalk, okay, if there's no sidewalk to walk on, so the person is forced to walk in the street, all right? They're walking in the street, cars coming down, starts to approach the horseshoe grill, and that sidewalk is available to him, but it's not plowed. He can't hop onto that sidewalk. Every opportunity to make it as safe as possible, I think we need to do. All right, I understand, that there are not sidewalks all along, but you can cross over, and for the most part, there are sidewalks along 28. I run along 28, and I know where it's safe and when it isn't safe. All right, I know when you can cross, when you can't cross, and I realize that there are not all sidewalks, but you need to work with what you got. You've got sidewalks, clean the sidewalks, make it safe for those who need to use them. I'm telling you, I've taken pictures, you've seen the pictures, there are people walking down, back and forth on 28 in horrid conditions, not because there's no sidewalk, but because there's a sidewalk they cannot access. And the people that live on 28 have to walk, who do not have a car, walk to Stop and Shop. I've seen them carrying, elderly woman carrying her bag, groceries from Stop and Shop down to her house. I've seen that. She's had to do that because there's a sidewalk there, but it's not clear. So I would take the opposite of what you're suggesting, okay? That if there's a sidewalk there, and I'm walking down the street, on the roadway, and there's a car coming, should I have access to that sidewalk? And I would say yes. I mean, that's not a big sidewalk for anybody to do anyway. So if the horseshoe took 25 minutes to clear that sidewalk, then fine, it's a good thing,
Well,
it's a safe thing.
in regards to Article 15,
Right, I was just
Can-
gonna bring that up.
it sounds like we're not gonna have a solution between now and Monday. So
Right.
can we just agree to pass it over now so no one spends a lot of time between now and Monday?
Right,
And we just,
with respect to the enforcement, we'll have a discussion
yeah,
at
we'll
a
just make
future
this an
meeting.
agenda item.
We
in
have
the
plenty of
future.
time, before- hopefully before it snows.
But I don't want Heidi and you guys to go off and do a lot of work if we know we're not gonna have a solution by
Did you
Monday.
make a motion?
So, I'm gonna make a motion to pass over Article 15.
Move to recommend passing, move to recommend passing over, yeah, second.
Second by Mr. O'Leary.
But you know, we can bring this up, Jeff, if you
Yeah.
want it as an agenda in the future. I don't mean to cut you off, but
No, I
just think,
Okay, who's gonna make the motion, Mr. Prisco?
Yep.
The second one. Once you make the motion, you get the opportunity to present the,
I'd let Jeff pass it over.
no.
no.
I'm teasing.
No, I made the,
I said, I'd let you move to pass it over.
I'll step in and say that isn't fair.
no, I'll do it.
All right. All right, is there anyone else here with respect to specific articles? Otherwise, I'm gonna start at the beginning.
Number 7.
Number 7.
I'm ready to stay all night.
Well, thanks. On the truck, there's a matter of history here, of the people on
Chestnut News.
Chestnut. I always want to say
Chestnut New.
Concord Street, but on Chestnut Street, appeared before the board complaining about truck traffic on Chestnut Street as a result of cement trucks and those heavy gravel trucks. And we were also informed that evening that there were gasoline tankers that were using that road. Whether or not they're still using it remains to be seen. The police department, in cooperation with the state police, set up, I don't know what you call it, chief, not a roadblock, but what would you call it?
It was a directed enforcement. They had a state police truck team on that location for a day, and they stopped a number of vehicles. I don't recall any of them were speeding, but the state police team had the expertise to make the stops for equipment-related or weight-related issues. And I believe there may have been 1 or 2 overweight, and they cited a number of vehicles for equipment failures. And since that time, the police department has progressed from selective enforcement using on-duty crews to patrol that area during specific timeframes to directed patrols. We're putting people there from our traffic division with a specific intent on monitoring vehicles coming and going in that area, focusing on trucks. And we intend on having an after-action report of those activities to Mr. Valiakonis by the end of this week. Our findings are relatively benign. There's been a number of citations issued, but a lot of the citations have been issued to small pickup truck vehicles and not the large vehicles that we were under the impression that the neighbors were concerned with. They haven't found the tanker truck. We've had officers deployed there after midnight for several hours, and then on the early morning, in case we missed something coming from the north heading south, we put them out there again in the morning to see if they were coming back the other way, and we haven't found the large tanker truck in the company has since that
Getting back to this, to get a truck exclusion, it's my understanding we need to prove that over 10% of the traffic is truck-related, and the purpose of this study was to determine whether or not it is. So this was a step to take if we were to get it approved for the exclusion on that road. And I guess the chief has provided the board with some new information that we didn't have up until today. Mr. Dean.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not here pro or con as far as doing the study. What I'm here for is, I saw in the article, you were gonna hire a consultant to do it,
That's right.
and I was wondering what the cost of that
I
is.
should have mentioned that, I believe it's $15,000.
$7,500.
So,
What I would like to mention and suggest, because I know we always talk about sharing town services with one another. I know the town of Reading has a traffic counter, because I used to use it. Borrow it. You only have to do it. It's a 24-hour study. I did them. It's a 24-hour study, and then it's downloaded into the computer, and there's all your information. I would much rather see us ask them for a favor, and I don't assume we have one, I don't know. I know some speed board trailers, the police have them. I did talk to the chief, theirs is not equipped for it. Borrow Reddings, we can save $7,500.
you're talking about a device you put across the road and
Yep,
got
what it is,
a
it's a small
computer off
box.
the
It's
side.
about the size of a toolbox. They chain it to the telephone pole, and they run the 2 rubber tubes across the road.
Mr. Belkonis.
In addition to what Mr. Vino alludes to, is we're also proposing an observer on site for 2 12-hour periods at both locations, and then the cost of taking the data and submitting a report to the state, which ultimately has final approval of the project. So that's the intent of what the request is in addition to the traffic counter, also the observer and the completion of the report.
Just as another note, the board previously voted to recommend this. And I believe the finance committee has voted not to recommend it, just so everybody knows where we are at the moment. Mr. Vino.
If I may, in all due respect, as I say, you put the counter out there, it sits there for 24 hours, nobody has to be with it. As they drive over the tubes, the counter counts. You download that data, there's all your figures, and I believe it's a 1-page form that DPW can fill out, send it into the state. They say, I'll be honest, I see it as a waste of $7,500, if in fact Reading would lend us theirs for a day, and they may not, but.
Mr. Jones.
It's not a big thing to do.
A quick question. I thought I heard the chief say it has to be like 10% truck traffic.
I believe I said that.
Okay,
And that's what I said.
Does the Reading equipment identify the type of vehicle, or is it just 100 vehicles? Does the pressure of the vehicle tell you the
type of variance.
Mr. Vino.